that never sleeps in the boxing capital of the world. Now site of arguably one of the biggest fights of the year. A heavyweight tilt between the defending champ Anthony Joshua and Andy Ruiz Jr.
This contest, 10 rounds of boxing scheduled for the unification of the WBA, WBC, IBF, and WBO championships of the world.
She's been beating everyone they put in front of her. I mean, her last fight with Rose Volante was just exciting. Volante wasn't going anywhere, but she was able to stop her. That's been the only slight knock on Katie Taylor, the fact that she hasn't been stopping opponents, but she did that against Volante. I mean, Eva Volstrom, Cindy Serrano. I mean, the last weekend we saw McCaskill and Sanchez. They went at it, and possibly the Women's Fight of the Year. She beat both of them fighters. This is a superstar in front of us.
She is a superstar, and she is competing for the undisputed champion there in the lightweight division in women's boxing. What does this mean not only to women's boxing, but really just boxing in general?
No, boxing in general. The women are showing the men how to do it. I mean, they're not scared to unify, to become undisputed. Katie Taylor will be the only the third woman to become undisputed champion of the world, alongside Cecilia Brækhus and Clarissa Shields. So that's a big deal.
To be here, I mean, I'm kind of pinching myself nearly that this fight is only a few days away, fighting for the undisputed championship of the world. And I know the challenge in front of me, I know how big of a challenge it is, and that's why I've trained so hard over these last few years, and I've kind of locked myself away over these last few months in training camp, and I put myself through the trenches every single day for this fight, so I feel ready, I'm prepared. Yeah.
He is the WBC Diamond Champion. He is the Muhammad Ali Trophy winner. He is the Ring Magazine Super Middleweight Champion of the World and the WBA Super Middleweight World Super Champion of the World. Fighting out of Liverpool, he's one of the 4 famous Fighting Smith brothers. Fighting out of Liverpool, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Callum Mundo Smith.
We talk about his length, we talk about his reach, obviously his height, that's 6'3". How does this give him an added advantage?
Yeah, of course. I mean, size is always an advantage, but if you're fighting fighters like Ndam, who's an Olympian, who's faced tall fighters, short fighters, aggressive, it's not really going to be much of an advantage. Now, if he was fighting a fighter that wasn't as experienced as Ndam, Olympian, stuff like that, absolutely, he could fight behind the jab, but Smith is an excellent body puncher. He can fight on the inside. He can fight on the outside, like he proved against George Groves. I mean, he is really the real deal and all around a complete fighter.
You know, a lot of people are overlooking Salman Dan. He's a former world champ. He's been in there with the likes of Kid Chocolate. He's won big fight, coming off a big victory. So, I mean, and he's a southpaw. Like, how hard was it getting prepared for him?
Yeah, exactly. You know, he's a good opponent. He's an experienced opponent. He's a former world champion, and only the very best have beat him. I believe I'm one of the very best, so I should be good enough to beat him. But it's no easy fight. He's a very good, tough customer, and I'm expecting a tough night. But I'm fully prepared. I'm prepared for the best possible version, Hassan Ndam, and I just believe the best version of me turns up, I beat any version of him.
The challenger in the ring for the main event for Saturday night. Please welcome, he's fighting 12 rounds for the WBA, IBF, and WBO and IBO championships of the world. Please welcome from Imperial, California, the former WBO Intercontinental and NABF heavyweight champion, Andy the Destroyer Ruiz.
I mean, for a heavyweight, especially a heavyweight, nowadays only fight about 2 times a year. This is unprecedented.
Okay.
Andy Ruiz fought 45 days ago, something like that, to fight for the world championship, the unified heavyweight championship of the world, versus a stud, a superstar like Anthony Joshua. It's like the Mexican-American Rocky story right here.
Yeah.
It really is.
And you've never had a Mexican-American heavyweight champion, so it has to be so special for him just to be able to be in this arena.
No, it really is. The only one who got close to that is Chris Arreola, and he was ultimately stopped by Klitschko, another big man that Joshua was able to fight and take out. But this is an impressive young man. If you talk to him, very smart, very articulate. He had an amateur pedigree, so that's another thing. He had over 100 amateur fights, which is more than AJ himself. So he has an amateur pedigree. He's only once beaten against Joseph Parker, a man that Joshua couldn't take out. So, I mean, this is the real deal. I mean, this is a guy that if anyone has to replace a last-minute replacement, he's as good as it gets with Andy Ruiz.
A lot of fighters that are underdog always love the fact that they're underdogs. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. But a part of you has to be a little annoyed with the fact that nobody's giving you a shot.
Yeah, you know what? Everybody's been doubting me since I was training, you know what? But look at where I came. I came so far, coming from a small town, a small city. And you know what? I'm doing great things now, you know, fighting for the world champion of the world. And, you know, I'm here to make history and become the first Mexican heavyweight champion.
Listen, you got a country behind you. You got underdog status. Like, it must be a lot of pressure on you.
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure on me, but I think Anthony Joshua has more to lose, you know? He's fighting a dangerous fighter like me. I think I'm a better opponent than everyone else that they had picked, but you know what? It's going to be a hard fight, but I'm here to win it all.
Saturday night, June 1st, Madison Square Garden, brought to you by Eddie Hearn of Matchroom Boxing USA, TGB Promotions, in association with AJ Boxing. Please welcome the Olympic gold medalist, the 22-0 fighter, 21 knockouts, the officer of the Order of the British Empire, and the reigning, defending WBA, IBF, WBO, and IBO champion of the world, AJ Anthony Joshua.
Not only his stature and his size and his physique, and he says everything right, but that's the champ. I mean, the champ is here, and it's just exciting. He does and says everything right. He exudes that superstar, and he is a superstar.
Yeah, the champ has arrived. You saw Andy Ruiz Jr. You were able to watch, you know, a little bit of his tape in his previous fights. What's going to be the biggest challenge for AJ on Saturday when it comes to Ruiz Jr.?
The momentum, the fact that he's switching opponents, and he was amped to fight a fighter in Miller who was talking a lot of trash, a lot of rubbish. He was talking a lot of rubbish in the press conference.
It was so funny. He was telling your mom jokes.
Yeah, you know what? We're watching the landlord here. He came to the States to collect the rent. He called himself the landlord.
So, AJ, you got a Miami tan, man. I see you doing yoga by the pool. You sure you was training in Miami?
It didn't look it. It didn't look it, but I stayed out of the clubs. I stayed out of the other clubs. I went down South Beach one afternoon for some lunch, which was nice.
Right.
Other than that, it was straight gym work. Yeah, man.
Listen, Miami's not the place you go when you're trying to stay focused.
I heard that was word on the streets. But the way the team set up my training is that I only had one day off in between. I never had like 2 back-to-back days off. Okay. When you have 2 back-to-back days, you have one for turning up and one for recovery. So all my recovery was just based around one day, so I had no time to kind of mess around or put a foot wrong.
You know, we were talking about like when after the Miller fight got canceled, people were a little down, but people have forgotten about that. They've moved on. Yeah. This is a real fight in front of you. This is a guy that some people say might even be harder than Miller. How do you feel about that?
I couldn't say because I've never boxed Miller. Right. Them two have boxed, right? Miller and they were going to box Miller and Ruiz. Right. But Miller was a steady contest because of his punch rate and his physical size. You can't deny that in the ring. But I think that Ruiz is more of a sound, well-balanced, feet underneath him, and little head movement. You throw the right hand, he just duck it, come under it, and then hook you twice. So he's got that type of confidence in his ability that he can kind of counter punch, and he's not afraid to a shot to come an inch within his face and slip it and then counter punch. He's not a scared fighter at all.
Listen, we know what you're used to in the UK, but how do you like this welcome in here in the US?
I should be out there with the people. That's what I'm saying. This is what I'm here to do. Like, it's kind of like to meet people, and it's all for the love of boxing. Right. It's not about me. It's about the next show, the Triple G show. Right. Whatever's happening on DAZN right now, it's just about kind of connecting with the people, so they go back and say, "Oh, you heard about that DAZN, boxing, da 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 da." And then the sport rises, so it's all good.
No, it's about you right now. It's
bigger than me. This is bigger than me.
No doubt. But listen, it's been, I mean, over 100 years heavyweight champs been fighting. I think outside of Sonny Liston and Jack Johnson, every other notable heavyweight has fought in that building. Yeah. You're about to make your statement and stamp your name in the game. Are you, no distractions right now? Like that pressure of being in the Garden, being in New York, in the US for the first time?
You know what? There is a lot. When you mention it, you kind of absorb it in. Yeah. But that's why I just try and come with it like I'm rolling with the punches. I'm not kind of getting lost or caught up in the hype of everything. The main time you enjoy it is after the fight. God willing, I win. You know what I mean? That's when I kind of look and I say, wow, I really done it in Madison Square Garden. But I don't want to just take part. I want to own the night, and that's the win. That's why I need the win.